Hey everyone, today I'm working on this '04 Chevrolet Express 1500 van. I'm changing out the fuel pump. It has the 5.3 liter engine in it. I'm just going to go over the process with you really quickly. First off, you're going to need to get it up in the air, and on this one I'm using 6-ton jack stands in order to get it high enough to drop the fuel tank. Whenever I had the 3 tons underneath here, it wasn't giving me enough room between the body and the ground to get the fuel tank down. So once you get underneath, it's really not too hard to drop the fuel tank on these. You don't even have to let go of the fuel lines. You can see right here where the fuel line's still connected, and there's plenty of wiggle room. All I did was release the brackets pointing onto the fuel lines a couple different places, and then took this electrical line off right here. And you can see down there where I took the filler neck loose, and also the line that's right above it. Now, other than that, all you had to do is take off the 2 band clamp bolts hanging on up next to the frame. Now, whenever I did this one, the bolts were just spinning into place. I actually had to drill out the bolts because I could not get them out. Now, as you see right here, this is the 2 bolts. You can see right here how I drilled holes through the center of them in order to get them loose. The nuts on this side were just spinning on the brackets, so you know, you can't get to them unless you drill them out because they are up in the frame right here with the fuel tank up in here. So there's really no way getting to them without drilling them out. So if you run into the same problem, just get you some really good drill bits, drill out the center of the bolt until it snaps off, and then this bracket will come off and you'll be able to go ahead and lower the tank. Now, I'm using a transmission floor jack, which gives a wide stance to hold the tank. Hopefully your tank is pretty empty. That way you don't have a lot of weight that you have to deal with. Now, whenever you get it down enough for you to get to the fuel pump, then all you have to do is start releasing the lines. There's 2 electrical lines right here, which aren't hard to take off. And then you've got a couple more fuel lines that you need to remove. This one I had to get a screwdriver and wedge from the inside in order to pull it off, and then this one was just a little squeeze clamp to pull it off. Now, when you're taking the ring off, the retaining ring for the fuel pump sender unit, then I usually just use a pry bar like this with a hammer, and I do blow all the debris out from around it, all the dirt and stuff. But all I did was give it a nice whack using this little slot that's right here. I don't know if you can see that. All I did was give it one good whack with that, and the ring spun with just one hit. Now, to make sure that you clean the area, and it might require a few hits from different places, but this one came off relatively easy. And then once that got loose, and I'm able to lift it up and out of the way, and go ahead and lift the fuel pump assembly up and out of the fuel tank. Now, it did take quite a bit of prying with screwdrivers around the outside edge, but I finally got it to pop up and out. So now I'll go ahead and remove the fuel pump sending unit completely out of the tank. Which, once you get the old pump out, you'll be able to set it next to the new one to compare it to make sure that they're the same. And as you can see, these 2 are different. Now, I believe that this one listed like 4 different fuel pumps, at least it did at the local parts store. So it looks like they gave me the wrong one. I'm gonna have to go back and compare it and find the right one that has all the right hookups and return this one. So now you're just going to reverse process and reinstall the fuel pump assembly back into the fuel tank and tighten it down and get it back up in there. So when you have to drill out the mount bolts from the straps, and just go to the local hardware store, get you some clips like this, and then you'll be able to slide it right back up into the original position and right in the hole, and then you'll just push it over just like that, and got your new nut in there, and you'll be able to bolt it right back up the way it was originally. And then you can get you some bolts, long bolts, to mount it up in there, and you'll be just fine. So make sure that whenever you put in the new fuel pump, that you put the new O-ring that they supply with it, put a little bit of lubricant on there, and then go ahead and start setting your new assembly into the fuel tank. So you'll need to put the fuel level float in there first, and then just slowly lower down the whole assembly into the fuel tank, and basically face it in the same direction, which is towards the inside of the vehicle, and then the plugs are on the back side on this one. So just put it all back down there, compress it down, and get your O-ring and put some pressure on it to push it down into there. Get your O-ring set on it, spin the retaining bracket. Now it is a good idea to keep all your little dust caps on there until after you get it placed in there, because you got to put the retaining ring and everything. You don't want to get any dust inside of the new pump. And once you push the assembly down, go ahead and put the retaining ring on there, lock it a little bit, and then go ahead and force it around to lock it into place. You can see the little indentures right here. The little indentures basically go into the center to lock it down. So you can see right here where I've gotten the retaining ring all the way around in a clockwise direction, and you can see the notch right there in the center, and then this groove is all the way bedded up against the edge right here, and that's the way it is all the way around. So once you get that reinstalled, then you can start reinstalling all of your lines and your electrical, get everything hooked back up. Most of this you simply just push back into place, lock it in, take your dust caps off, slide that right in there. So once you make sure that you got all the electrical lines hooked up, and you may have to do it after you get it up on the jack to get a couple in so you don't stretch it too far. Now, in order to put the fuel tank back onto the jack, it does help to have a buddy. If not, you'll have to handle it yourself and try to lift up one side of the tank as you're pushing the jack in from the same side that you're lifting up on until you get it balanced and pulled up onto the jack. Now, like I said earlier, I am using a transmission floor jack. A regular jack has a small head on it, and it's a whole lot harder. A transmission jack has a wide head on it, so it makes it a lot easier to do the fuel tank. And as you can see, it's completely supported by the jack right now. So once you make sure all your lines are hooked up, then go ahead and pump it up and get it up into place. Now once you get the fuel tank lifted, it pretty much fits like a glove. You can see exactly where the band clamps had went, where the retaining clamps had went on the fuel tank. It goes up pretty much really close up to the frame, and you just pull those clamps around and go ahead and reinstall your bolts. And make sure you got them nice and snug. Now you've got the tank back into position, and now you can start hooking up the other electrical that you had to disconnect on this side, which is the front side, and then go ahead and reconnect your filler hose and your other line that's sitting just above it, which you simply just push this back in to its hole and then push the clip down, and it'll be right back in. So once you've got everything back together as far as your electrical and your filler neck hose, and go ahead and just place all these lines back into their position where you pulled them apart, snap everything back together, and then put the other connectors back on, and you have completed the fuel pump swap. So now basically you can go ahead and get in and check it to make sure that it starts up before you let the jack stands down, so that if there is an issue, you don't have to do it twice. We're going to go ahead and start it up and try it. In there, see it starts up. Sounds pretty good. So it looks like that was what the problem was. So that's how you change out the fuel pump on your Chevy Express van. Now I want to make sure that everyone knows that every vehicle could be different, so the process I did on this one might be different than what you have to do on yours. Also, before you start, make sure you check all your fuses and your relays to make sure that everything's good on it before you spend a lot of time replacing the fuel pump and it ends up being just a fuse. But other than that, thanks for watching my video today. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, like it, share it, leave your comments below. Stay tuned for the next video, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching again.